Hello friends! I can't believe I'm back, and I can't believe it's November already. And I have a lot to tell you. I want to tell you about my October readings. I want to tell you about my September readings. I want to tell you about my plans for the end of the year. But today I will tell you about my plans for Nonfiction November or Nonfiction November TBR. If you don't know what Nonfiction November is, it is a month-long readathon or just Booktube movement started with Olive from a book Olive, and this year it grows huge. There are a lot of people who do this on different platforms. A lot of people who organize this. I will link all of their channels down below. And now I just want to talk to you about my books I want to read. There are 4 prompts. They are not obligation, but you can choose to use them just to make things more fun. I have a lot of nonfiction books I want to read because every time when I hold a nonfiction book, I think, okay, I'll wait for Nonfiction November and then I'll read this. And that's the time. That's Nonfiction November. So let's talk about prompts and my TBR. Prompts are just a word that you can interpret in whichever way you like. The first word is time. And I have 2 books for each prompt. I will definitely not read all 2 books for all prompts, but I want something to choose from during the month. So for time, I have 2 books. First book is The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, A New History of a Lost World by Steve Brussetti. So this is a book about dinosaurs, about how they were, how people find out about them, what kinds of dinosaurs were there, about how they progress and things that birds have similar to dinosaurs and all this stuff. And the truth is, like with every book on my TBR, I don't know exactly what it is about. I know that it's a very interesting book, very engagingly written, and the truth is I never was excited about dinosaurs. I was a little bit frightened as a child, and there was not too much obsession about this when I was a kid. And when I was adult, it was just, dull science. So now I really want to find out more about them, to know more about them, and I think this book is the best way to start. The second book for the prompt of time is a book about my favorite time period, but maybe not about the best, the best sides of this time period. So this book is The Untold Lives of the Woman Killed by Jack the Ripper by Haley Rubenhold. This was a very popular book on Booktube last year, I think, and it won Goodreads 2019 Book Award. And it's like the title said, the stories of 5 women killed by Jack the Ripper, and it's like socially known that they were prostitutes, but they actually were not. And so this is a book about all these women, about their history, and about the history of their time, and why women who were late at night on the streets can be or cannot be prostitutes, and what make them so easy victims for Jack the Ripper. So I am really excited because I was never fascinated by Jack the Ripper, but I actually really like Victorian London and all the dark sides. I think it's exciting to know that you are in a safe place reading the books about something really scary. And I think this is very scary. So that's the main thing. This is my 2 books for the prompt of time. The next prompt is the word movement, and I again have 2 books for this. You can interpret movement for so many things. It can be sport, it can be traveling, it can be immigration, it can be movement toward yourself and all the stuff. The first book, and for the first book, I interpreted movement like traveling. It was something that we didn't experience much in 2020. And so there is one book I always wanted to read about traveling, and it's very specific. I don't think this book is published in English. It's Russian author and Russian book. One journalist and essayist and writer, he wrote a book about with name The Genius of a Place, where he tell short or not very short essays about the city through the genius who lived in this city. For example, Jack London, San Francisco, O. Henry, New York, Machiavelli, Florencia, I don't know, Carpaccio, Venetia, Kobo Abe, Tokyo, and so on. So there is one essay for a pair of like person, and a city. And I think it's very interesting lens to look through, and I am very excited to read this book. I haven't traveled much in my life, so I don't think that I experienced by myself most of the cities. But I think it's interesting to look at the place through the lens of people who lived there, or famous people who lived there, if you can think about this. The next book is Uncanny Valley, a memoir by Anna Wiener. I think I pronounced it right. This is about the place I'm living in, about Silicon Valley. The young girl in her mid-20s moved from New York to San Francisco to work in a startup and experience all of crazy things that you can experience in startups, from being, let's say, overpaid, like vacations that company do for their people in luxurious places, to overworking and some, I don't know, really crazy working stuff. Part coming of age story, part portrait of an already bygone era. Uncanny Valley is a rare first-person glimpse into the high-flying, reckless startup culture at a time of unchecked ambition, unregulated surveillance, wild fortune, and accelerating political power. So this is the book. I really am interested in this because, almost all my friends' husbands work either in huge high-tech industry companies like Facebook and Google, or in startups. So I can't say that I'm really inside all this culture, but I'm close to it. I'm picking at their lives, and so it's really interesting for me to read a memoir about this. As I know, she didn't like it at all, so we'll see. What can I say about this after reading? The next prompt is buzz, and for this I have two books. I definitely will read only one of them. I can't say which one. They are really, really super popular, not only in Booktube world, but I think in the whole world. They are the most buzzworthy books that all my friends, even that kind of friends that read only one book a year, all they read both of these books, and I've read none. So now I want to catch up. The first book is Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Noel Harari. You know what? I even can't say what it is about. So I don't know really what this book about, except that it is very interesting and it is about history. In Sapiens, Professor Noel Harari spends the whole of human history, from the very first humans to walk the earth to the radical and sometimes devastating breakthrough of the cognitive, agricultural, and scientific revolutions. The truth is, I don't understand what about is this book even now, but we'll see. I definitely need to read this because everyone read this. And the second book I want to read for the World Buzz is A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. And it's said he took one important part of our science, history, biology, chemistry, physics, I don't know, and tell about it. Something interesting, something in depth, something not really in depth, but the truth is, I can't say that I know a lot about science now, so I'm really interested to read this because my husband is all into science and I can't even talk about this to him because I understand nothing. So it's something I need to work on, and maybe this book will help me. So this is the second book for the world of Buzz. And the last prompt is the world discovery. And for this I have two books. The first book is Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty. I think I pronounced it right. So this woman is an author who writes a lot about death. And she promotes death positivity. So she wants to make a cultural shift when we would not be afraid of death. And I don't know how can she do this, because maybe I'm too afraid of death, of myself and of my family members. But let's read this. This is the book when she answers the kids' questions about the. This is the book when she answers the children's questions about death, and people tell that this is very fascinating and sometimes funny book. I don't know. I am really afraid to read this. I am afraid of death and I am afraid of speaking about death. Maybe that's why I need to read it even more. I don't know. Will my cat eat my eyeballs? Big questions from tiny mortals about death. Let's read this. The last book for Nonfiction November that I consider reading is Bad Blood, Secret and Lies in a Silicon Valley Startup by John Carreiro. This is the very famous story of Theranos, Silicon Valley unicorn startup, which was a bubble that popped. And it was an affair where she raised lots of money, but hadn't the result of her discoveries. So I think, again, as I'm not into the culture of Silicon Valley at all, but I am interested in it, like a person who living nearby. And so I am interested in this stuff, though while all this happened, I was not even in USA, and I didn't even think that I will live in Silicon Valley in any time of my life. So I knew nothing about this before this book happened on Booktube, all over Booktube. And now I just want to read this because I think it's interesting. So these are 8 books I can read during Nonfiction November. Maybe I even will read them. Let's see. I'm really excited this year because I like nonfiction, and I waited to read all these books before Nonfiction November because I wanted to read it during Nonfiction November. And I don't think now that it was a wise choice, but we'll see. And again, this is the time of year when it's begin to be dark and cold outside, and nothing really to do except sitting at home and read books. So let's start doing this. I hope you had a wonderful October and you'll have a wonderful November. Please tell me about the most exciting books you want to read during November. Will it be nonfiction or fiction? Tell me, do you like to participate in Nonfiction November? And I'll see you very soon in next video. Bye!